to another episode of St Vincent Untold Stories. On this episode, we look at Omar Resurgent, aka Vinci. This week, the police put out a statement saying that they have cracked a cold case that happened back in 2022 and they have arrested and charged one Omar Resurgent. At Untold Stories, we are going to reveal the main factors of how they cracked that case. Please remember to hit the like button, and if you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. And if you wish to see more videos like these, please remember to hit the notification bell. Back in 2022, some men were hanging out at a shop in an area called New Montrose when two unknown assailants ran up and attack, and beat off two machines. After the smoke cleared, two men were found lying on the ground, and another was crying for pain. It is said that the men were rushed to the hospital, but two did not make it. The two that did not make it was a fella called TV Head and another one that went by the name Romano. The machine had penetrated them so much that not even the greatest sergeant could bring them back like 150 cents. It is alleged that when the masked assailants were fleeing the scene, an ex-police officer took out his machine and he released several, hitting one of the unknown assailants. But it was not enough to stop the assailants immediately, so they got away. But the following Monday, they found a youth by the name of Omar Resurgent lying on the ground in an area called Otley Hall. It was as if he was passing out. The police was called in and Omar was taken to the hospital. But you see, shortly after the incident in Montrose, where the men were sent to the graveyard, the police cordoned off the area and they picked up several metals. And remember, they knew that the ex-police beat his machine and it caught one of the assailants. So while picking up the metals, they saw that some of the metals were different. Some were from the ex-police and some were unknown. It is alleged that after the sergeant removed the metal from Omari, the police took them away because they wanted to send them overseas because there is nothing here that can test the metals to do ballistic report. It is alleged that shortly after Omari was discharged, they decided to pull him in for questioning. But he denied. He said that he knew nothing about what happened. And remember, the men were wearing masks, so the police could not say that they had an eyewitness because you can't see a man under a mask. All they knew that one man was hit with a machine, and they found the man on the Monday that suffered from a machine hitting. So they had to let him go. But shortly after, Omar and another youth was caught with two machines, a helmet and a Glock. Omari decided to plead not guilty, but the other youth pled guilty. And because of his age, the magistrate decided to not impose a jail sentence on him. They decided that they were going to investigate, and the investigate was done. When the social worker went around, they said that he was a good youth. He was able to be rehabilitated, and they decided to charge him some money. So they fined him for the machine and other tax. But if they don't just stop there, the magistrate decided that he had to go through a rehabilitation process. So they sent him to an institution to learn plumbing for several months. During this time, the prosecution was trying to build up a case against Omari. They told the magistrate that they needed time because they were investigating him for a double graveyard ascending. And they asked for his bail to be denied because they did not want him to go and tamper with anything. So the magistrate decided to remand him in custody for a week. The next week, the bail hearing came up again, and he was granted a bail in the sum of $15,000, and he stepped out. But that bail had some conditions with it, and one of those conditions was that he would check in to the police station during a certain time. During that time, the matter kind of went under the radar, and the person started to say that the man ran off because he's not a friend disappeared to another island. Some are speculated that Omari ran off, and some are saying that it was the other guy. But it is alleged that somebody ran off, and they are saying that that individual was caught with a machine on another island. Now, come 2024, they have rearrested Omari's surgeon for the double sending of two men to the graveyard. The law says that you are innocent until proven guilty. So it leaves persons to wonder what information does the police have. Did the ballistic reports come back matching the machine of the ex-policeman? Remember I told you that sometimes when you think it's a bush, it's people. Did something happen between Omari and her boat men that the police are not putting out there, that people in the community told them about? You see, in America, the police out there got smarter. They don't even need some of those things anymore because all they can do is track your cell phone to see your past alibi, to see where you were. So if you say you wasn't there, they can prove that you was. At Untold Stories, we are not informants. We are just giving you the real stories as it is. So you see, the police had all this information since 2022. But probably they were waiting on a solid piece of substantial evidence. And we don't want to jump to conclusion because we don't know what escalated between the men. You see, badness is a very expensive thing because even though sometimes you're not involved and your name calls, you have to run up and down to try and find the money to pay the lawyers. And sometimes when the youths do it, the money they do it for can't even pay a lawyer. That's the sad thing about it. We was not on the scene when the incident happened. Only the men that were at the shop and the ex-policeman might be able to give you the full story. But Mr. Ex-police officer, you're a very brave man. Just imagine you saw a wild corn coming out of machines, and you took the step to intercede and beat off your machine to make sure that you caught one of the assailants. You see, if that ex-police officer was living overseas and a guilty verdict was brought down, he would be gifted with a Medal of Honor for his heroic ways. It is alleged that Omar used to live in Barbados and he took on the alias Vinci. So, when you are representing the island with a name like Vinci, you have to represent well, not in any mix up and bang around. Omari, if you walk away from this one, you'd change your life. Don't make your name call up in bad things again. And if they find you guilty, please rehabilitate yourself in prison, my youth, because the streets are cold. And as Untold Stories, we want to say condolences to the family of TV head and Romano. You see, sometimes all we have to do is just walk away. Because you see, if you don't, there are consequences. You see, and everyone thought that the case was over. It was going to be left unsolved. But in a criminal underworld, no crime is left unsolved because the police does not close its book. The cases are on the table. So what they are doing is fitting the pieces to the puzzle, gathering witness and gathering substantial evidence. So when people are saying that the police are not working, they are working.